Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to call to order the 3:15 Special City Council meeting of October 6, 2021. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go,
Here.
Vice Mayor Weir, Councilmember Arias,
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Freeman, Councilmember Gray,
Here.
and Councilmember Parlier.
Here.
Thank you. If you're here to make a public statement, please fill out the public speaker card and give it to the city clerk. All statements are given a 3-minute time limit, 15 minutes per topic. Please keep your comments to the 3:15 agenda items. If you have written comments that are longer than your public verbal statement, please give them to the clerk, who will give copies to the council. We're very interested and concerned with your issues. However, due to the public notice requirement of the Brown Act, the council can't take action when an item isn't on the agenda. The council can, however, refer your matter to committee or request that staff contact you. Please avoid any behavior that disrupts the meeting, such as repetitive statements, going off topic, shouting, surpassing the 3-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers?
No public speaker cards have been received.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3, reports. Item A, Blue Zones Wellness Initiative.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Look forward to having this presentation before you today. Our friends from Adventist Health, Beatrice Sanders and Amy Dorrell, will be providing an overview of a wellness initiative that is being contemplated for our community.
Welcome.
I just want to make sure this works. Yes, it does. So I just wanted to say thank you for having us in this special meeting today. I'm excited to bring to you our team here at Adventist Health and some of our community supporters for an open dialogue about a program that we are very excited to bring to the city of Bakersfield called Blue Zones. Many of you may have heard of it already. And if you haven't, you're about to learn a lot about it and have the opportunity to ask any questions that you would like. It is a program that has been successful throughout a number of major cities, both rural, throughout the United States and the world. I think that Bakersfield in itself is a very good candidate for a program like Blue Zones. As many of you know, our statistics here in Bakersfield and beyond Bakersfield throughout Kern County, our health statistics are not incredibly good. If anything, they're probably some of the worst in the nation. And Blue Zones has proven to be a program that does help in many different ways, not just the health of our constituents, but our economic well-being. And it's a program that we all would like to see be successful here in Bakersfield as well. As well, one of the stats that I wanted to share with you today, among many, was just that of the adults here in Kern County, 7 out of 10 are obese. And those statistics, along with many others, with the childhood diabetes and obesity rates are what was I going to say? Our heart disease is also number one, I think, very far there for women. Cancer rates continue to rise, and we've seen that Blue Zones again in similar cities to Bakersfield. One that I like to use as a good comparison is Fort Worth, Texas. They are in their past their 5th year of becoming a Blue Zones community, and we would love to see that here. And like I said, due to our health conditions here and our economic status, one of the things that Blue Zones does is it attracts business. It attracts businesses like Whole Foods to come to an area that is certified Blue Zones. So with that, I just wanted to introduce Amy Dorrell. She's been with Adventist Health for about 2 years now, working with us on a couple of different initiatives here in Bakersfield, Delano, and Tehachapi. And as of July, she's been working mostly on Blue Zones and what that means to Bakersfield and Kern County. We've spoken with a number of elected officials, community partners, different industries here who all support the idea of seeing something like Blue Zones rolled out here. So she has more of the presentation and the details, and I'm hoping to leave enough time for some good and meaningful questions and answers.
Thanks, Bing. So as she depressed you with some of the numbers of where Bakersfield is now, we're going to show and inspire, hopefully, of where we can be. And she's right. We see some of these negative numbers, but here's what we know. If we can make a difference in well-being. And well-being is not just physical, it is that purpose, it's that social, it is financial, it is community, and it is mental. So everything involved together. If we do that upstream before there's a problem, we see that the outcomes can be monumental in a positive way of hitting, you see, that health outcomes. We're going to see the disease go down, business outcomes going up with employee satisfaction, community outcomes, as well as more decrease in mental health and behavior. So I am going to give you an overview of Blue Zones. But, you know, it's like explaining surgery. We're trying to do a lot. Even thinking about reducing obesity, it's not putting a Band-Aid. So I'm going to give you a big picture, and as B said, we're happy to answer questions if something needs a little bit more clarity. So here's the mission statement for Blue Zones. It's to empower all, white, black, yellow, poor, rich, educated, uneducated, to be healthier and to live longer everywhere around the world. And that's what we want here in our town in Bakersfield. So it's based on research. So they went around to find the places where people live the longest and the healthiest. And they found 5 areas, and they have coined them the Blue Zones areas. And you might have read it in 2005. I think it was one of, at that time, it was the most read magazine of its time, and still is one of the top. So they put all the secrets in there. But a couple of things came out of that, of looking at a couple of frameworks. And one of them are all of these 9 elements that they saw in all of those Blue Zones. So it is, you know, eating better, not eating as much, eating more greens, having more social, more family connectivity, having that community, moving naturally around our community, making sure we're not getting rid of our stress, but how we deal with it. So all of these elements came out of it. But most importantly, what they recognized is that we have to ensure that making the right choice is the easy choice, and take the burden off of us and create our communities to support these healthier activities around where we work, where our children go to school, and where we play. How do we interact with our people? And then, of course, some of that policy, making sure kids are not around smoking. So a quick overview of what that would look like if you say, yes, let's do this here in Bakersfield. It starts and always infused in it with community engagement. So it's bringing the Blue Zones team here and having a lot of community activities, focus groups to really learn and continue to build up those that are interested and want to be a partner with it. Once that happens, there's what we call the foundation phase. We're looking at about 9 months of continual relationship building, focus groups, building those partnerships with nonprofits, with corporations. And important to find out what's working, what is great here, where do we need to fill in the gaps, and then how do we create a beautiful plan to put forward. So creating that roadmap, and again, it is the city of Bakersfield that is creating it along with the experts that have done this in 60 plus towns across the country. So, very much community engaged and volunteers always a part of it. And there will be a lot of structure here. So you can see all of the committees that will be part of that process. A lot of training goes into it. And that is all supported by the Blue Zones team, again, that's done this 60 plus time, and then that network across the country that will help them with it. But what makes this special is that it also builds in a team here at Bakersfield of people from this town that will be employed. And every day, this is what they're thinking of. They're thinking of how to make those connections and how to advance. A lot of projects mean so well, but they're done part-time, after hours. This is a core commitment for the team. And then again, they're going to always have those tentacles to the experts. They can always call a phone a friend and figure out those things that they can't understand and always help. And then we have experts from across the world around policy and all of these pieces of environment and policy, built environment that's there. So it's around, again, community, building with FTEs here, and then the expansion of Blue Zones at a larger space. And then it's the implementation. And usually that's about 4 years that it will take. Again, we're not fixing a little boo-boo. We're working on strong, intense, very tentacle-driven connections and issues. So I'm going to give you a little bit of what that looks like. And this will vary in every community based on the needs of those 9 months. But I'll give you a few examples. First and foremost, it doesn't come in and say we're going to start over. It builds and uplifts everything that's already here in partners. It could be that they figure out, oh, you're doing a great job with delivering food, but you can't figure out or don't have the resource to get it to this one area. That's when they will partner together and help. It might be that they need help writing grants. Again, paid staff to help other nonprofits to write those as well. It infuses what is already here and important to you. With B3K, how does that enhance and work with companies? We know that purpose is one of the #1 reasons of connectivity for job, enjoyment, and staying there, as well as you need one best friend at work, and this is what all Blue Zones is about. So it's a great fit and a marriage for a lot that you're doing here. It's going to look at the green space. It's going to look in areas here that, how can we make it better? How can we make it more community and safer and more infused with activity and bringing people together? We know that safety, the California Safety Alliance said, we can't just look at criminal numbers. We have to go back and look at the well-being of the community to be able to find the obstacles and impact it earlier. That is looking at safety. Access to food. You know you're on a mecca here. You're producing the produce and vegetables across the country, but some of our people here don't have the right access to the right vegetables. So how do we do that? It might be a mobile truck that we're going into the farms to ensuring everybody has it. Making sure all the local markets has those options and that it is financially viable for those local markets to provide that fresh food. We want it to be a win-win-win. And we do want to look at policy, making sure those children don't have access to tobacco and whatever else. And these choices are decided by the community. It's from that best practice list, and then it's honed down. And obviously, we're going to engage our students. We're going to look at getting them more active and working with them of making better food choices, and then connecting them going back to the families. There's a lot of other components of creating these purpose workshops and creating communities, what they call the moyais, of walking groups or whatever it is. So there's a lot of pieces with it, but trying to give you that quick overview. And at the end of that 4.9 years down the road, there's going to be a lot of celebrations, but we will have a large celebration, and we will be at Blue Zone certification. What's also very special about this, it is hardcore infused into data. From day one, we're going to have a lot of factors of looking at that will be shared with all nonprofits, with all organizations in this community, and we'll be able to see on a daily basis where we are, and we'll be able to recalibrate if anything is not being hit so that we know where our vision and where we're headed. So all of our data is there. We're going to know where we're going and what we've hit. So here's the criteria. There's a lot of metrics that go into it, but you can see it's looking at reducing our risk to making sure that we're hitting our metrics, that the brand awareness, that people are involved, and that we're seeing that we have made changes to our community at large. But most importantly, we're talking about some people care. I do about the brand. I know what that means. But at the end of the day, we care about what it means to us, to our family, to our grandchildren here at Bakersfield. And that is the impact that we want to leave. And we know that that is what has happened. So again, 60 plus now across the country. And it has been in every type of community, from urban, from rural, from black, white, brown, from farming to anything that you can imagine. They have been in the areas, some incredibly large and some very small, and looking at very specific areas of it. So here's just a couple of cities where they've been and a couple of the results that they've gotten out of it. Albert Lea, very small town, and you can see almost a 50% increase in medical claims. That's huge. A reduction in obesity. We know that that's something that we need here in Bakersfield. That's in the beach cities here in California. 37% decrease in smoking. And then we see a 40% decline in lost work due to injury. That goes back to B3K. That goes back to building up that economic development in our businesses here. We know that that's 70% usually labor of any of their expenses. And on a sidebar, there's also a bonus. All of the cities get a lot of wealth of marketing value and benefit coming into these cities that are blue zones. Today's Show 2 weeks ago, they had an article about blue zones on there. And it feeds into, and the team helps all of these towns feed off of that so that there is a ripple effect in the impact that you receive here and that you see in your newspapers, in your televisions, even outside of this little area. So here's the secret sauce. If you know anything about community impact and initiatives, here's what you need to be successful. Blue Zones is going to bring that design, that framework, that structure, and the accountability. They're going to have those hard metrics throughout that process. The partnership comes in of having that joint leadership. We know, again, it's not people coming into this town, it is uplifting the people here. And then, of course, having the resources to continue and to make sure that we're successful. So that's the brief overview of Blue Zones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clegg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to provide a little bit of context about, where could or typically do, cities or other government agencies fall into an equation like this. It's important. One of the powers of an initiative like Blue Zones, and this is how they design it, is that it is a collective effort of many. And so not coming to you today to say, does the city want to take on Blue Zones all on our lonesome? That's not what we're here for today. Today was to introduce this concept to your council, to have awareness as this conversation continues with multiple community partners who are expressing interest in taking on a wellness initiative. I could potentially see the city, at a minimum, aligning our efforts and strategies that we're moving forward, our economic development strategic plan, our public safety and intervention programs, as well as the Transformative Climate Communities grant. Many of the projects that would get potentially approved in a TCC grant would be very consistent with the efforts of Blue Zones to create more walkability or more active public spaces, for example. And then ultimately through city staff participating in these conversations and collaborations, and as well potentially funding from our American Rescue Plan Act is an eligible source of funding to help create some community impetus around health and well-being. So again, this would be something that would come from partnership with many other community stakeholders. Not necessarily the city alone, but something that would provide a lot of benefits to our community at large and have alignment with many of our programs and initiatives that are out there.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Colleagues, any requests to speak?
Motion to receive and file.
We have a motion. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Weir? Yes. Councilmember Arias?
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith? Councilmember Freeman? Councilmember Gray?
Oh, Well, I'm sorry, we could have pressed the button, but we've gotten so accustomed to doing it this other way. Let's go ahead and finish.
Yes.
And Councilmember Parlier.
Aye.
Motion was approved with Councilmembers Smith and Freeman absent.
Thank you very much, team. Thank you. Really appreciate it. When the governor was In Shape on June the 16th, I declared in front of all the media that as a community, we're seeking, our goal is to be the healthiest city in California. That's a far-reaching goal, I know, because of where we are, but it's good to have big goals. And so together, let's realize that as a community. Thank you so much. And with that, if there is nothing else, we stand adjourned at 3:39.
The 3:30 p.m. meeting of the Bakersfield City Council is now in session.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to call to order the 3:30 regular City Council meeting of October 6, 2021. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go,
Here.
Vice Mayor Weir,
Here.
Councilmember Arias,
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Freeman, Councilmember Gray,
Here.
Councilmember Parlier.
Here.
Thank you. If you're here to make a public statement, please fill out a public speaker card and give it to the city clerk. All statements are given a 3-minute time limit, 15 minutes per topic. Please keep your comments to 3:30 agenda items. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, give them to the clerk, who will give copies to the council. We're very interested and concerned with your issues. However, due to the public notice requirement of the Brown Act, the council can't take action when an item isn't on the agenda. The council can, however, refer your matter to committee or request that staff contact you. Please avoid any behavior that disrupts the meeting, such as repetitive statements, going off topic, shouting, surpassing the 3-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Under item 4, closed session, item A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation regarding the following 2 matters. Number 1, Leslie LeRae Crawford versus City of Bakersfield. Number 2, the people of the state of California versus City of Bakersfield. And item B, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, 1 matter.
Move we adjourn to closed session.
We're adjourned to closed session.
On item 4A2, there is no reportable action. And on item 4B as in boy, there is no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you. And we stand adjourned at 5:07.